The mountain was very big, so she rushed the ladder to the cave. The mother and son drove the ladder again. Hassan followed along the river bank to find the dog. The sound of the water was heard around the cave. Hassan suddenly woke up a chicken. He hurriedly pushed the cabri. It turned out that the river flowed and the ladder was rushed to the cave. Hassan rushed down the cave to see the ladder. He took the ladder back to the cave. Hassan ran to the ladder and tried to lift the ladder. But the ladder was too heavy for him. The young Hassan could not lift the ladder. But Hassan did not give up. As a man who is the best in the family, Hassan still shook the ladder a little. The river flowed full of mud. The water on the whole slope turned into thick mud. The young Hassan tried to move the ladder in the fast river. He wanted to protect the ladder built with the cabri. The fast water flowed under Hassan's feet. It seemed that Hassan would be taken away by the water in the next second. But Hassan was not afraid of the water, because he wanted to protect the family. Even if the family was already fragile, Hassan held a branch with one hand. His other hand wanted to lift the ladder. But he was just a child and could not lift it. The cabri fell from the cave with a headache. As the only adult in the cave, Hassan could not sit still. Hassan went up in a hurry to hold the cabri. The two of them walked down the slope. Hassan wanted to let the cabri go back to rest, but he knew that he could not carry the ladder because he was too heavy. Hassan could only carry his mother to the ladder. Hassan took off his slippers and pulled up his pants. He did not hesitate to step into the river. Hassan and the cabri were working hard at the same time. With the help of the cabri, the ladder finally lifted. The ladder was leaning against the huge rock. Hassan and the cabri were relieved. The ladder was finally lifted. The cabri came to Hassan's side. They put the ladder down together. The river was rolling like a natural disaster. The bad weather was completely different from the wind and sun. Hassan pushed the ladder hard. The cabri threw his shoes aside. The two of them carried the ladder to the cave. The ladder was damaged by the river's water and the violent transport. Hassan did not want to give up the ladder. He walked up the slope with a rope. The cabri was having a headache and pushed the ladder down. The ladder was lifted up. Hassan stepped on the rock. He climbed up the hill. Hassan pulled up his pants. The cabri lifted the ladder. The ladder was finally put back in the cave. Hassan suddenly remembered the dog. He ran to the dog's den, but the den had become a ruins. Hassan was so anxious that he cried. He could only run to his mother for help. Hassan was so sad. The two of them saw the ruins of the dog's den. Hassan finally couldn't help but cry on the ground. He was just a child. He finally got better. A natural disaster broke his life. Hassan was so hardworking. He didn't know what he had done wrong. The cabri sat beside Hassan. He stretched out his hand and stroked Hassan's head to comfort him. Hassan, you have to be stronger. You are an adult now. An adult can't cry. The cabri comforted Hassan. Hassan could only hold back his tears in order not to make him worry. But his voice was still crying. Hassan didn't believe that the dog would be buried in the dog house. He ran to the riverbed in a frenzy. The dog was so smart. Hassan believed that he must have felt the danger and hid himself. He believed that the dog must still be alive. Hassan hurried to the riverbed and watched the water flow. Hassan was so sad that he didn't see the dog's figure. Hassan ran to the top of the mountain. He was calling for the dog. Hassan was very anxious. He hoped that he could see the dog again. Hassan was walking on the gravel road beside the river. He didn't care about the dangerous water flow. He followed the direction of the water flow and walked. The first time Hassan and the dog met was in the water. That day, Hassan rescued the dog that was washed by the waterfall. The boy's figure was full of panic and anxiety. Hassan hoped that he could rescue the dog again. Hassan knew that the water flow was fast. Hassan also knew that if the dog was washed away, he would not come back. But Hassan didn't want to accept the reality. He still had hope. Even if Hassan had a little hope, he would never give up. The boy's figure was in the crowd under the sun. Hassan was looking for the dog along the river. He couldn't leave until Hassan accepted the reality. The boy finally sat on the shore and cried. He buried his head between his legs. He didn't want to face the reality of the dog leaving. He didn't want to see the river. Hassan's fate was really hard. The boy's crying was in the valley. Hassan was a strong boy. He was forced to go home with sadness. Now he lost the dog. Hassan couldn't lose Kabuli. He couldn't let Kabuli wait too long. Hassan was walking and gazing at the dog. He wanted to control his emotions. Hassan didn't want Kabuli to worry about himself. Hassan was walking in the crowd. Hassan was in a state of panic. The boy's figure was in the crowd. He was about to fall. Hassan was walking down the slope. He was back to the stairs. Kabuli was waiting for him. Hassan couldn't help but feel emotional. He was crying on Kabuli's lap. Kabuli knew how sad Hassan was, but he couldn't say anything to comfort him. Kabuli could only stay with Hassan. He could only wait for Hassan to calm down. Hassan was sad for a while. He stood up again. Today he lost the dog. But sadness doesn't mean he can rest. The life of a shaman needs to go on. Hassan grabbed the blanket. The blanket was so heavy that Hassan couldn't lift it. He could only move the blanket a little. Hassan walked slowly. He spread the blanket on the stone and let the sun shine. Hassan picked up the hammer. He came to the stairs. Hassan put the broken wooden board back in. He knocked on the wooden board. Hassan grabbed the hammer and moved it. The hammer was still in place. Hassan put the second wooden board back in. He sat on the stone and knocked on the wooden board. He heard a sound. Hassan climbed the stairs to check the wooden board. He fixed the ladder with the hammer. Hassan fixed it very carefully. He fixed all the nails on the ladder. Hassan climbed back to the cave. He took some leaves from the stove to climb down the slope. Hassan put the leaves next to the. He took some wood and broke it into appropriate length. He put the wood on the wooden board. He lit the fire. The smoke rose. The flame appeared between the nails. Hassan poured water into the pot. He put the plastic bottle aside. The pot was roasted by the fire. Hassan washed the glass. The pot was roasted by the fire. Hassan opened the pot. He put a tea bag in the pot. Hassan packed the tea bag. The mother and son sat together. Hassan was very confused. He didn't know why God had to arrange this. Hassan was burnt. Hassan had to use clothes as gloves. Hassan took a pot of hot tea. Hassan poured cold water into the pot. Hassan took a pot of hot tea. Hassan poured cold water into the pot. Hassan poured hot tea. Hassan put the tea bag into the pot. Hassan drank the first cup of tea. The mother and son collected the fuel. 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 Today, the mother and son climbed down the stairs. Hassan walked in front of them. Hassan walked in front of them. Hassan had not been out with the mother and son for a long time. Now, the mother and son are much better. This is the only good news in these days. The mother and son stepped on the stone road. The river on the other side has receded. Hassan climbed up the slope. He looked back at his mother. The mother and son came to the top of the mountain. They stopped at a tree. Kabuli and Hassan wanted to collect some wood. The mother and son broke the branches. They found that they had given up. The mother and son walked on the path to find wood. They walked on the grass. Kabuli and Hassan were walking on the path. They walked on the stone road. There are many wood in the stone gap. Hassan and Kabuli kept looking for wood in the stone gap. They walked along the river. The sky was blue. The sun was warm and it did not hurt the eyes. The sound of water was rolling in the ear. Hassan and Kabuli were not anxious. There was a lot of water here. The water was flowing down the river. Many wood was washed near the river. They had to follow the river. They could find wood every time. Hassan walked on the path with a long stick. Kabuli walked behind the wood. The mother and son were pulled in the sun. Kabuli and Hassan came to the mountain. They were collecting branches by a tree. The mother and son were holding the tree. Hassan was standing on the side. The mother and son collected a lot of branches from the tree. Hassan carried wood from the mother and son. Kabuli's illness was getting better. Hassan did not want his mother to be tired again. Hassan walked on the grass with the wood. He cut a branch. The mother and son put the wood together. Kabuli put down the rope. He and Hassan put the wood on the rope. The rope was covered with a pile of wood. Hassan sat down and asked the mother to carry the wood. The mother and son were very considerate. Kabuli tied the rope. Hassan stood up. The wood was on the way home. Hassan fell on the ground. Kabuli was very scared, but the mother and son were still safe. Hassan was still on the front. He walked in front of the mother. Kabuli was behind Hassan. The mother and son were walking in the middle of the mountain. Kabuli carried a piece of wood. A couple of people stepped on the grass. The river was full of stones. Hassan walked slowly. Kabuli was walking slowly. He walked a long way home. The mother and son finally saw the stairs. Kabuli went to the cave. Hassan climbed the stairs with the wood. Kabuli took Hassan to the house. He untied the rope for the child. Hassan was looking at the fire. He used the wood to build a fire. The fire was burning. Hassan poured water into the pot. The water poured into the pot. Hassan put the pot on the fire. The fire boiled the water. Kabuli added wood to the fire. The fire was burning. Hassan took off his clothes. Kabuli helped Hassan take a bath. Hassan poured warm water on him. After the bath, Kabuli wiped Hassan dry with a blanket. He put on his clothes. Hassan wore pants. Hassan was burning by the fire. The mother and son sat by the fire. The fire gradually turned into a charcoal pile. Hassan put away the blanket. The river was still so rough. Hassan climbed the stairs with the blanket. He put the heavy blanket back in the cave. Hassan went back to Kabuli. He put his clothes away. Hassan took his clothes to the cave. Hassan put on his jacket. He climbed the stairs with Kabuli. They went back to the cave to rest. The sky was clear. The river was calm. The photographer received a message from the roomers. Hassan took the materials to help the mother and son. Hassan took the bag of the photographer. Hassan saw the materials inside. Hassan showed his happiness. With these materials, their lives could be better. They touched the blanket to keep the mother and son from getting cold. Hassan and Kabuli packed the materials. Hassan took out an orange. He cut the orange with a knife. Hassan opened the skin. The mother ate the first fruit. Hassan was a filial child. He was happy to see his mother eat more than he ate himself. Kabuli let Hassan eat some too. Hassan took the fruit and cut it. The boy was holding the fruit in his mouth. He hadn't eaten fruit for a long time. Although there were only a few oranges, Hassan was satisfied. After the mother and son finished the fruit, Hassan put the fruit next to him. Then he set the fire. The flame was on the mother and son. Kabuli took out a bag of chicken and put it on the plate. He cut the bag with a knife. Hassan took the water can and Kabuli washed the plate together. Then Kabuli put the whole chicken on the plate. Kabuli and Hassan took care of the chicken. Hassan took out the iron wire from behind. Kabuli washed the iron wire. The water flowed out of the can. Kabuli washed the iron wire. He cut the meat. Hassan watched the chicken. He was looking forward to taste the chicken. Thank you for your support. Every like can improve the life of Hassan and his mother. Hassan smiled at the chicken on the iron wire. Hassan climbed up the stone wall. Kabuli stepped on the stairs slowly. Kabuli lit the leaves in the cave. He set the fire on the fire. A fire with a warm flame was formed. The smoke rose. Kabuli came to the stone wall to deal with the fish. He took out a knife and put the fish on the stone. He removed the fishy smell from the fish. Kabuli's method is very familiar. The fish is walking very peacefully. Hassan helped to pour water. The two of them were very happy. The fish was very depressed. Kabuli cleaned the fish. He cut the fish with a knife. Kabuli put the fish on the iron wire. Hassan watched the water. Hassan washed the fish. Kabuli put the fish on the iron wire. He put the fish on the fire. The fire was burning. The fish was fragrant. The fish was covered with a caramel color. Hassan took the fish to the plate. Kabuli put the fish in the plate. Hassan ate a little bit. The taste was like a map. Kabuli and Hassan tasted the delicious food. Don't eat the fish. Kabuli opened the plastic bag. He took out the baked cake. He took out the fish. They enjoyed a delicious breakfast. After eating and drinking, Kabuli took his son Hassan to climb the stairs. Kabuli took the wood under the stairs. Hassan carried the plastic water pipe to his shoulder. They walked to the spring water. Although the path was steep, Kabuli and Hassan were in love. They walked down the slope. Kabuli took the lead. He threw the pipe on the slope. Hassan walked up the slope. Kabuli didn't change his mind. Hassan turned around and carried his mother up. They climbed the stone wall and the steep slope. After several failures, they went to the high water mouth. The water pressure was higher. Kabuli took the pipe to connect. They tried to connect the pipe to the high water mouth. Kabuli asked Hassan to help collect some sand. Hassan took the straw bag and set off. He used his young hands and feet to climb the slope. Hassan jumped down the slope 3 times.